Chapter 27. I became a carpenter. Making bricks was too physically demanding for me, and working in the fields terrified me because of the leeches that clung to my legs every time I stepped into the water. So, when the camp needed someone to join the carpentry team, I volunteered immediately, even though I had no idea how to handle a saw. To provide some context, saws in Vietnam are typically frame saws with a wooden frame. They have two long handles connected by a small wooden bar the same length as the blade, tensioned by another piece of wood in the middle. These saws are difficult to balance if you're not accustomed to them. I was quickly assigned to a newly formed team, Team 10, led by Yuyan. On my first day at the team's workshop just behind the camp fence, I was tasked with sawing wooden planks into 4 by 10 centimeters beams. The supervising officer instructed me to place a thick wooden board on 2 sawhorses and sit upright on it. I had to hold the saw blade with both hands. My right hand grasped one end where the blade was attached to the frame, while my left hand steadied the other end of the frame. Then I had to saw up and down while keeping my eyes focused on the chalk line to guide the blade. This sounded simple enough, but in practice, it was incredibly difficult. It was my first time sawing wood, and the blade twisted and curved unpredictably, like a snake slithering along the wood. The harder I tried to guide it, the more it got stuck, making it exhausting to saw up and down. Within minutes, I was drenched in sweat, and my shoulders ached as if I had been beaten. I reminded myself that at least this job was better than standing in the sun and slogging through mud all day making bricks. In the camp, avoiding work was an option, so I resolved to make the best of the least terrible option. After a few days, I began to control the saw more effectively, and the work became slightly easier. Later, our team was assigned to build a visitation house for inmates' families. This structure was located at a junction leading to Subcamp K5, across from a cattle barn. I had no knowledge of construction, whether for brick or bamboo houses, but some team members who had experience building houses in Tay Ninh became our experts and guided us. My first task was to use an axe to shape logs into house pillars. The logs were provided by criminal inmates from the lumber team. First, I squared the logs, then shaped them into octagons, and finally used a planer to make them round. 4 house beams. I only had to square the wood and plane it lightly. Long and Tran, the experts on our team, arranged the beams and pillars on the ground to outline the house frame. They marked the mortises and tenons for us to chisel, saw, and fit together. We also dug a pond behind the site to gather soil for the house's foundation. After 3 weeks, the house frame was erected. Next, we built the roof, walls, and other wooden components. To make earthen walls, we chiseled small 1 by 3 centimeter square holes into the beams and pillars. Bamboo slats were inserted into these holes and tied together into a lattice. Meanwhile, another group mixed soil, straw, and water with their bare feet until it became a sticky paste. We used our hands to plaster this mixture onto the bamboo lattice to form the walls. The roof consisted of 3 layers of bamboo. Whole bamboo poles were tied horizontally across the rafters at 1-meter intervals. Smaller bamboo strips were tied vertically at half-meter intervals from top to bottom. Finally, split bamboo slats about 3 centimeters wide were tied horizontally at 30 centimeters intervals. To thatch the roof, we used young palm leaves about 1.5 to 2 meters long. The leaves were split and woven in an upward-facing direction. After 3 layers, a bamboo strip was tied to secure the leaves, as the area was prone to storms. The roof ridge consisted of bamboo poles pierced through and overlapping palm leaves for extra reinforcement. The house frame was joined with mortise and tenon joints or bamboo pegs. Only the windows and doors were nailed. The house, or more accurately, the hut, measured about 8 by 10 meters and took 40 of us 2 grueling months to complete, not counting the work of the criminal inmates who supplied the wood and leaves. However, through this experience, I gained some skill in using saws, chisels, planers, and axes, all of which would prove useful in the future. After completing the visitation house, Team 10 was officially named the Temporary Carpentry and Construction Team, responsible for building and repairing structures made of wood and bamboo in the camp and administrative areas. When there was no construction work, we did carpentry at the workhouse. A separate team, Team 2, specialized in furniture making and wood processing. I realized that the only way to avoid other backbreaking tasks in the camp was to become proficient in carpentry, so I could stay on Team 10. With a bit of dexterity and some calculation skills, I quickly caught up. I could plan an entire house without laying out the beams on the ground. I only needed the supervising officer to provide the house's general dimensions, and I could accurately calculate the materials needed. Within 6 months, I became a team expert. This expertise allowed me some autonomy in how I worked and helped make life slightly easier for our team. Each day, the supervising officer assigned tasks to our team leader, Ian, who then asked me how many workers I needed for the job. I often requested more workers than necessary to reduce the workload on everyone. When building houses, I instructed the lumber team to deliver materials sorted by type, minimizing our effort and conserving our limited energy in the malnourished conditions of the camp. Even in the bleakest circumstances, there were moments of irony. At Tan Lab, most structures were temporary, made from bamboo, wood, and palm leaves. The camp officers and their families relied on us to build houses, pigsties, and chicken coops for them. The quality of these structures depended entirely on us. Meanwhile, we only wanted food and lighter workloads in return. Whenever we billed for the officers, I seized the opportunity to negotiate for better provisions. We want to do a good job and finish quickly, but as you can see, we lack the strength. If you provide some extra food for us, anything will help and will work better. This negotiation often worked, and we would receive chickens, meat, eggs, cassava, or just vegetables. Our labor for their comfort became a strange form of leverage. We always wanted to do good work and do it quickly for you, but as you can see, we didn't have the strength. If you have something to nourish us, anything will do, I think will work better. That was my usual line whenever I wanted to ask for food while working for them. Once, we were building a 7-room house for the agency's family quarters. When we placed a ridge beam on the roof, I saw a few people bringing offerings for a ritual and then gifting those offerings to us. I asked what they were doing, and they explained that the ridge beam was the most important part of the house. According to their beliefs, they wanted us to handle it with care to bring good fortune to those living in the house. As for us, we didn't care about anything except for the offerings. From then on, we realized that even though they were communists, they were still very superstitious. Another time, we were making a house, and the front and back doors aligned in a straight line. They asked me to adjust it to an offset position. I knew this was another superstition, so I told them it was the camp planning committee's decision. A while later, they brought us a bag of millet and asked me to make the adjustment for them. We shared the millet and laughed among ourselves as we made the changes. Hunger and food shortages were the most pressing issues in the re-education camp. Although our team's work was relatively lighter than some other teams, we didn't get the same bonuses as the agricultural teams. So, I asked the team supervisor if we could grow something to supplement our meals. He allowed a fellow inmate, Neat, to take on that responsibility. After a few months, Neat essentially replaced a criminal inmate and became a full-time helper for the camp supervisor. Neat grew gourds and some rows of vegetables for our team and also had the job of finding extra food for the camp supervisor. Sometimes, He'd bring me a small portion of food he gathered. In the hellhole that was Tan Lap Camp, nothing was more important than food, any kind of food, because everyone was starving. In early 1978, Yin was transferred to the Commendation Committee. The camp management moved Yem from K1 to become the leader of Team 10. Yem had no experience with woodworking or construction, but as the team leader, he wanted to take charge. He moved me to do carpentry at the workshop instead of construction. That was when I had the chance to learn how to make furniture. This job was relatively easier than construction work, but required stay in the workshop and didn't come with any bonuses of extra food, something very important to us. In the camp, we often made beds, cupboards, tables, and chairs for staff and their families. Sometimes, they even asked me to make wooden chests for storing clothes. These were often personal requests, not part of the camp's official plan, giving me opportunities to request items or food in return. After a few weeks, Yem couldn't handle the team's work, especially when it came to larger construction projects. So, the team supervisor and planning officer told me to return to my role as the team's construction specialist. I accepted because I knew they needed me for construction work, and it also gave me a chance to avoid heavier labor and help other inmates on the team. However, this role once put me in danger when the camp administration tried a democratic experiment by allowing inmates to elect the commendation committee and team leaders. I sensed that this was a tactic by the communists to identify and remove inmates who were popular among their peers. In my team, under the supervision of the team officer, the inmates nominated Team Leader Yem, Vice Leader Sin, and me for the election. After the votes, I received 100% of the votes from the inmates in my team. A subsequent meeting between the camp management and Bitch, a criminal inmate serving as a commendation committee head, led to the decision to transfer all the elected inmates to other subdivisions, including me. Yuyin, Yem, and several others were transferred to K1, but they kept me because there was no one to replace me in construction. I stayed in Team 10 as a construction specialist, while they brought Tong from K1 to take over as the team leader. Inmates came and left Team 10. New inmates were transferred to Tan Lap Camp, and others were released. Several camp officers oversaw Team 10 and later moved to other teams. But I remained with the team for nearly the entire time, from the beginning until I left Tan Lap Camp to return to the south. Long, Tran, Tan, and others from a group of 410 inmates aboard the Perfume River ship were released from Team 10. Vui, Nam, Gioi, Tu, and other inmates transferred to Tan Lap from other camps, such as Lao Kai, Yenbai, Honglin Sun, and other regions were among the last inmates in Team 10. But I was the only one who stayed in the team from start to finish. Not everything went smoothly. While we typically worked in the workshop, protected from sun and rain, there were always exceptions. During storm season, common in northern Vietnam, we had to repair roofs in the camp and the agency's quarters while other teams were given breaks. Roofs made from palm leaves were easily torn off in strong winds, so we never got any rest during the season. Additionally, we performed dangerous tasks without any safety equipment. Working on rooftops, especially in winter with drizzle and cold winds, was hazardous. The sharp bamboo lashings often cut our hands. Once, I fell from the roof while tying a lashing that snapped and caused me to lose balance. Fortunately, I landed on a pile of palm leaves, losing only a tooth and avoiding serious injury. If not for that pile of leaves, who knows what might have happened? Another time, 3 other inmates and I were tasked with cutting down a fig tree by the Amai stream to use as a house post. That day, it was drizzling lightly, not yet a heavy rain. Fig trees are full of sap and very difficult to cut through with a handsaw. The tree was located by the stream, right where the bank met the water. We couldn't stand in the water to saw it, so we nailed a small wooden bench onto the trunk to sit on while sawing. The water level kept rising, possibly because it was raining heavily upstream. At first, the tree was close to the bank, but soon the bank seemed farther and farther away. When we finally felled the tree, there was no way to carry it back other than clinging to the trunk and letting it float downstream in the swift current. Luckily, the tree drifted close to the bank, and we were able to pull ashore and return to the workshop, soaking wet and freezing. 5 years in Tan Lap Camp were long enough to become accustomed to everything, from not knowing anything about carpentry to eventually mastering every aspect of construction and becoming an indispensable specialist in the camp. I had to overcome countless challenges. Over time, the officers and camp management came to know me. By early 1981, Team 10's workshop was relocated to a new site near the camp's headquarters, next to an orange garden. I was allowed to go to the workshop on my own, without needing an officer to accompany me. Occasionally, the camp management even permitted me to visit local houses to observe and gather ideas for building structures for the agency. I thought I could use these trips to escape, and they would only realize it during the nightly roll call. But as I mentioned earlier, Tan Lap Camp was surrounded by mountains and forests, and I truly didn't know where to go if I escaped. There have been a few escape attempts, but none succeeded. All were captured by the local mountain people, who turned them in for rewards like rice and food. Every failed escape attempt ended in death one way or another after long periods of solitary confinement. Romantic tales and re-education. When Team 10's workshop relocated to the Orange Garden, it was situated near the child care center for the camp officers' families. The teacher at the child care center, named Lon, often came to the workshop to ask me to make her rulers. At first, I didn't pay much attention to her since she was a camp officer, but over time, her visits became regular, and she would only ask me, even though there were other inmates working in the workshop. Whenever I went to repair something at the child care center, her students would inform me that their teacher was getting dolled up before meeting me. A few friends of my team, and even the supervising officers, noticed this. They would chuckle every time they saw her heading toward the workshop. Lon wasn't particularly beautiful, but she had an enchanting smile and a well-proportioned figure, likely from years of hard labor. Our relationship gradually grew closer until I left Tan Lap Camp to return to South in early 1982. I don't know what might have happened had I not been transferred out of Tan Lap. It wasn't just me. Several other inmates began forming relationships with female officers as well. Meanwhile, interactions between inmates, especially those in forestry teams, and local villagers also increased. The situation had begun to shift dramatically. I could say that the policies of the party and state remained consistent, but people's attitudes and behaviors were undoubtedly beginning to change.